Hello my lovely Cosy and Bookish friends, and welcome to the Spring Starter Pack. Yes, today we are talking about all things spring books, spring films and TV shows, activities, cozy games. I don't know about you, but I just love this time of year, seeing the flowers bloom and bring a bit more colour back into the world. I love reading books and watching shows that match the season so I can fully embrace and romanticise this wonderful time of year. So let us begin with the books. Starting with a spring classic, Anne of Green Gables. This follows Anne Shirley, who is this 11-year-old orphan who has this optimistic spirit and this really wildly creative imagination. She gets adopted by an aging brother and sister, Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, and kind of by accident, as they were actually requested a boy, and thus this begins this kind of transformation for all three of them, and really the whole little village and community of Avalonia just becomes under Anne's influence, and it's just such a wonderful spring story. Anne is such a delightful character, and her joy for this season is just contagious. She loves the spring, and this book allows us to see the season through her eyes. It's honestly such a comfort book. The characters are all wonderful and grow on you as you read. The story is so wholesome, and I just think that spring's the perfect season to give this book a go, especially if you're reading it for the first time. Sticking with classics, we cannot not mention Jane Austen. Regency novels are always a favourite around this time of year, and what better way to start the season than with some Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice follows the story of the Bennet family. When two men of large fortune move into town, Mrs. Bennet is determined to have one of her daughters married off to them. However, love, as Jane and Elizabeth soon learn, is rarely simple and can be found in the most unexpected places. Their worlds are quickly turned upside down, and Elizabeth discovers that first impressions can often be misleading, especially when Mr. Darcy is involved. I mean, stepping into a classic romance on a spring afternoon, what could be better? We are talking balls, country walks, love, and just wonderful characters that are beloved for a reason. And sticking with Jane Austen, I also want to recommend Sense and Sensibility. It's a story of two sisters, Eleanor and Mariana, who, as their families fall on hard times and the troubles that they both face in their love lives. Jane Austen's work is wonderful no matter what season it is, but for me, Sense and Sensibility always seems like a spring novel. Perhaps it's because they're outdoors quite often. This is one of the slower and softer Jane Austen novels, and is one that I find I enjoy more now that I'm older than I did when I was first reading this as a teenager. So perhaps if you're reading it for the first time, try pairing the book with the audiobook and maybe taking it with you on a picnic or a drive. I think it'd be a great way to spend an afternoon. Moving away from classics but sticking with Regency romance, we have Work of Art by Mimi Matthews. This follows Philly, who is born with eyes of different colour, and this catches the attention of the sinister Duke of Moreland, and in order to escape his attentions, she gets into a marriage contract, sort of fake marriage, with an injured Captain Hayward. This is just a sweet, clean Regency romance with a bit of mystery thrown in. It's a good, fun, very light, very easy, perfect spring read. With Regency period, but let's add in some magic. We have Half a Soul. This follows Dora, who, after a run-in with a Fae when she's a child, she ends up losing half her soul, and this means she doesn't really feel emotions properly, and she's just a bit of an oddball in the best way. She goes to London with her cousin and ends up getting mixed up with the Lord Sorcerer, and together they try and deal with this sort of magical plague of sorts. It's like a Jane Austen romance with magic. What could be better? Dora is a wonderful little weirdo who I really warm to. Pure whimsical fun and just makes just such a good feel-good read. Perhaps one that would brighten up one of those greyer spring days. Moving on, it wouldn't be spring without a murder mystery or two. Sinister Spring is a collection of Agatha Christie short stories that are all set or the plots relate to spring. It's perfect if you want to test out Agatha Christie's incredible writing style or if you just fancy a nice quick murder mystery. Next we have By Ash, Oak and Thorn. This is a middle grade book that follows these three tiny beings that were once the revered guardians of the wild, who wake up from their winter hibernation only to find that the beloved ash tree has been destroyed. They set off on this adventure to find more of their kind, and it's a journey which takes them first into the deep countryside and into the heart of the city. Helped along the way by birds and animals, the trio search for a way to survive and thrive in this precious yet disappearing world. This book is set in spring and is filled with wonderful nature imagery. The book is beautifully captures issues of like global warming, human effects on the natural world and the damage that has been caused. And perhaps it touched me a lot more as an adult because I could read between the lines and see the wilder issues in this book that perhaps the children might not see. But I just listened to this book as an audiobook and it was just such a delight to listen to. I highly recommend this one. Next we have The Tea Dragon Society. It follows the story of a girl named Greta who, after discovering a lost dragon at the market, gets wrapped up in a society of tea dragons. I've talked about this graphic novel a lot on this channel, so I'll just keep this brief. The story again covers the whole year, but it starts and ends in spring, and the images are just so pretty that it needs to go on this list. I love this series. It's so cute and wholesome, and I just want a tea dragon. I mean, tea dragons, what could be better? Another manga and light novel series that I have talked about to death on this channel is My Happy Marriage. This follows Mio, who is the unloved daughter of a noble family, and she has no magic abilities, so she is sort of forced into this marriage with a commander who has a bad reputation. I love this story in all its forms, and whilst the storyline covers different seasons, cherry blossoms are particularly important. See, it's on the cover, and hence why it's the perfect spring read. Next up we have The Ancient Magis' Bride. This follows our main girl who has been abused and neglected her whole life and ends up at this slave auction where essentially she is brought by a sorcerer who intends to make her his apprentice and also kind of his bride. The story isn't as weird as it sounds. It becomes more apparent later in the story that the whole bride part is actually a misunderstanding relating to this non-human Magis's, what he's been taught about human relationships and what it means to live together in the same house, so it's not quite as weird as it sounds. It's a very cottagecore book. They live in the English countryside, and it's just a really fun manga series full of magic and folklore elements to add a bit of whimsy to the season. This next manga is a really beautiful story, and it is Orange. This follows a group of school friends who all receive these strange letters supposedly from their future selves asking them to save a student. We follow our main girl here, who's the first to get one of these letters. I won't go into detail about the storyline as it's one best experience, however it does touch on some heavier topics, so do check your trigger warnings, but it is a beautiful story. It does go over seasons, but there's just something about this story that feels perfect for spring. Now for my favourite manga series, Snow White with the Red Hair. This follows our main girl who is a herbalist that lives in this kingdom where the prince is a bit of a dandy, and when he finds out that she has red hair, he decides that she's going to be his mistress. And she ain't having any of that, so she leaves and ends up befriending the prince of a neighbouring kingdom, my boy Zen, and ends up becoming a royal herbalist in that country, and the story just goes on from there. I absolutely adore this manga. It is so wholesome and full of spring vibe. Our main girl is a herbalist, so there's a lot relating to flowers and herbs and so on, and it's just a really sweet, good fairy tale like fun. Stepping briefly into the realm of Japanese literature, we have The Lonely Castle. Oh, The Lonely Castle in the Mirror. I'm just going to read you the blurb for this one. In a tranquil neighbourhood in Tokyo, 7 teenagers wake up to find their bedroom mirrors are shining. At a single touch, they are pulled from their lonely lives into a wondrous castle filled with winding stairways, watchful portraits, and twinkling chandeliers. In this new sanctuary, they are confronted with a set of clues leading to a hidden room where one of them is granted a wish. But there's a catch. If they don't leave the castle by 5 o'clock, they will be punished. And as time passes, a devastating truth emerges. Only those brave enough to share their stories will be saved. This book begins in May and then continues throughout the year. And honestly, I just think this novel is a masterpiece. It's beautifully written and wonderfully tender. It touches on topics of bullying and friendship, but it's so well done. It really blew me away, and it wraps up in the plot in a way that I really didn't see coming, and yet it makes perfect sense. And there is also a manga version of this story, which is also a delight to read. Next up we have Miss Potter. This follows the story of Beatrix Potter, who is the author of Peter Rabbit. This is a novelisation of a film, and it is just delightful. If you like Peter Rabbit and Beatrix Potter's artwork, then you will love this story. On to one of my all-time favourites, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This follows the story of Sophie Hatter, who catches the unwelcome attention of the Witch of the West and is turned into an old woman. Deciding she's got nothing more to lose, Sophie makes her way to the moving castle hovering above her town, but this castle is said to belong to the dreaded wizard Howl, who he has an appetite, they say, for the souls of young girls, who lives there with his fire demon Calcifer. I absolutely love this book. Howl and Sophie are one of my favourite literary couples. They bicker the entire time and I just live for it. This book is so funny and magical. It's just a pure delight in book form. A number of the books that I have mentioned have wonderful adaptations, which brings us on to film and TV show recommendations. We have to start with Jane Austen again, and in this case both Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice have wonderful film and TV show adaptations. For Sense and Sensibility, there is the delightful film with Kate Winslet, Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, Alan Rickman. However, my personal favourite is the TV version, which has Dominic Cooper and Dan Stevens in it. This version just really captures the heart of the story and I really love it. And of course we have the ultimate debate, 1995 or 2005. I am talking about Pride and Prejudice, where they either have the wonderful 2005 movie, which really is just full of aesthetics and captures the essence of the story, or my favourite, the 1995 TV show version, which is truly just the book brought to life. Another book to screen adaptation is Anne with an E. This is an adaptation of Anne of Green Gables, and it's such a wholesome and aesthetically pleasing show to watch. It is just perfect for this time of year. Continuing with adaptations, we cannot forget Miss Potter. However, in this case, the movie actually came first. And it is such a lovely film. We get to see Peter Rabbit and other Beatrix Potter characters come to life as we take a look at this beautiful, bittersweet life story of the author herself. Away from adaptations, we have Ella Enchanted. This is a Cinderella retelling with a twist. Ella has been given this gift by her godmother, which means that she is obedient, meaning that she will do whatever someone else tells her to do. And this leads Ella into a lot of trouble. This movie is one of my favourites. It's just whimsical and just silly fun. It's just, I always feel good whenever I watch this. Another feel-good movie is the Nanny McPhee films. This follows this Nanny McPhee, who has magic and she just turns up on the doorstep of homes with troublesome children and helps them out. A bit like Mary Poppins, but it's a bit more cottagecore. These movies are just good silly fun. Emma Thompson stars in both, and then in the first one you have Colin Firth, and in the second you've got Maggie Smith. They're just delightful springtime movies with picnics, running through meadows, and just having a good time. Now for one of my all-time favourites, again we have Howl's Moving Castle. I mentioned the book earlier, but the book and the film are actually very different, especially where the black door leads. I won't say any more than that. The movie is just wonderful. The Studio Ghibli aesthetic is just the best. Honestly, any Studio Ghibli movie is good to watch in spring or just any time of year. They are so aesthetically pleasing to watch. The colours, the style, the music, it's just the perfect film if you just want to have a bit of magic to brighten up your day. Finally, returning back to adaptations and into the realm of anime, we have My Happy Marriage, Lonely Castle in the Mirror, The Ancient Magus' Bride, Orange, and of course Snow White with the red hair. All of these have anime adaptations, so you can not only read the manga but dive into these series this season as well. On to Cosy Games, and I don't have many to talk about, and all of them are in the same genre. Farming sims. We are talking Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, Fae Farm, Disney Dreamlight Valley, and more. Farming sims are the genre of video game where you have to build your own island or town or valley. Some of these games, like Animal Crossing, will change up their settings to match the season to make it the perfect game for every time of year. These games are just very easy games. You don't have to think too deeply about it unless you want to, so they are perfect when you just want to have some time to relax and switch off. Finally, on to activities. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these in an upcoming vlog when I do my spring bucket list, so I won't go into too much detail. The first is to go and see the flowers. Daffodils, bluebells, cherry blossoms, all of them bloom throughout the spring and all of them are beautiful to see in person. If you have somewhere close to you where you can see these flowers grow, even if it's just in pots by a cafe, I highly recommend you go and check them out. Sticking with flowers, we have flower pressing. This is something I've never done before, but I really want to. It seems like a great way to save the beautiful flowers that you have seen so that you can use them again in crafts or in decorations in the future. Another activity is to bake. Bake something spring inspired. I usually go for carrot cake, but you might want to try baking bread or cupcakes or cookies. Perhaps try and find a seasonal recipe to try out. And once you've baked your treat, I recommend taking it with you on a picnic. This can be a picnic at a park or at home in your garden. Just get a blanket and enjoy your tasty treat outside. And if you like reading, I highly recommend taking a book and having a bookish picnic. I did this quite a bit last year on my own, just in my garden, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Or if it's a rainy day, perhaps you could try making yourself a spring mood board or playlist. I have never done either of these before, but I love listening to other people's playlists and scrolling through Pinterest to see other people's mood boards. It looks like such a lot of fun to create one, and then you have something ready to go whenever you want to get into the spirit of the season. And perhaps you could use your playlist as a background music for when you host a tea party. I did one of these in winter. Me and my bestie got together and just dressed up our lunch with a cake stand and had a bit of a party. It was a lot of fun and a great way just to romanticise your everyday life and just to make you feel like you're a main character in a classic novel. So that is it for this spring starter pack. I hope that you maybe found some new books or movies or ideas of ways that you can fully embrace this season. I truly hope that you take the time to read or watch or to do something that makes you happy this spring. If you have any other recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. I would really love to know what you guys do to enjoy the season. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, my lovely cozy and bookish friends. Bye!